Oh, with the whole movie review, I feel like I need to do a lot of research when it comes to doing the horror movie things. All I know is that pretty much from Japan to Korea to China, there's always the vengeful, long-haired, long black-haired ghost that's someone did something wrong to.
Yep.
Something.
Yep.
It's just like, no, go get a cookie.
Well, because that would be interesting. But yeah,
So there's one story in Japan about this vengeful spirit that just attacks everyone that turns out less vengeful than some so.
yeah. For fine reasons. But I mean, if it was something as simple as, okay, it's not that big a deal, that wouldn't make for interesting entertainment. But yeah, especially if you're going cross country, a lot of times there are movies when it comes to horror movies that each one represents its own country. Like when it comes to horror here, it's all about hot chicks boning and then dying. I mean, someone just comes up and like stabs them. I hate to be that crude, but I mean, really, our horror it revolves so much around violence. Saw, oh God, don't get me started on Saw. But no,
even though I get the story, I get why he does it, it's still just very cool.
It's just wow, you know, it's like, people like this. But no, when it comes to, and I don't want to say just China, just Japan, whatever, but Asian horror in general, it tends to be more about the atmosphere. That sort of intense scenario, so it's different. But there are cultural reasons behind it. Like The Ring, that went back to an old folk story. The fact that you saw water everywhere. There was I can't remember the story, but in a couple of different Japanese ghost stories, a lot of people, a lot of spirits or something like that, they would come in and out of water. So water was a slight symbol. It was either a gateway or a symbol of death. Although I don't really have any research to back that up. That's just what I've heard from other people. So research the why it's scary and the why people have found it frightening. Not just with like you or the U.S. culture. Why do people overseas think it's scary? And that will resonate a lot more with the people who are watching you because they're learning about something. I'm recording it right now, so if you want to catch it on my YouTube channel, I'm gonna YouTube or Blip. I'm gonna catch it. I'll put it up there. Anything else? I think we got some extra time. If not, we can go ahead and cut out early. I don't care. I'm just here to help you guys.
I don't want to keep asking questions. I want
Keep asking.
have a turn.
There aren't exactly a lot of people in here, so it's okay.
Like I actually it was the Ring, the one that it wouldn't stop ever, right? In the American version.
What do you mean,
Like the Ring is like when you watch the videotapes, you have 7 days.
Oh yeah, 7
to
days. Yeah.
kill. Like why is it 7 days and why is it that she kills everybody? Why this innocent kid that only caught a glimpse of it or?
Oh yeah. Why did they suffer?
Yeah.
That sounds like something that would be really interesting to research. There may be, I can't say anything, but there may be something behind a week. Maybe there was an older ghost story where it involved a week. Or maybe a week's just too darn convenient. Because if it was a day, it would be a really quick movie.
Right, well, and the other thing about that film is almost the entirety of the film, you've got the standard horror fear of death motivation. But at the end, you get this other alternate visceral horror of the fact that in order to save yourself, you have to sacrifice somebody else and knowingly propagate this thing. So it becomes a moral crisis as opposed to just, survival.
Also, sounds kind of like Final Destination.
Oh yeah.
To prevent death, if you're death, you have to sacrifice somebody else.
Yeah.
Final Destination is just death by Goldberg.
Final Destination is like, it's still making this wrong sort of stuff. Well, I'm going to put Tony Todd in business, I'm good.
Yeah. But I mean, that sounds like something really cool to research. I'm sure a lot of people they may not be interested in it now, but that's how my show goes, is that people in general don't necessarily care that much about Japan. I hate to say that, but A lot of people just don't. However, when you start feeding them little lines of, hey, did you know about this? Did you know it relates to this? You hook them. So I've had to develop my own audience. I've had to go to general gamers and say, hey, general gamers, do you know that all these games that we love come from Japan? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, did you know that there's a ton of language and culture in it? And they're like, no. Prove it. And I'm like, here, 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 a little bit here, and here. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. And then they stay with the show because they're learning about stuff all the time. And it was right under their nose. What's up?
This may have been in your presentation, I'm sorry, and I might have missed it.
That's
But in terms of the rate of change of your viewers, is that, would you characterize that to say as a linear progression or some other?
It's a linear progression if you're doing well. You're always going to lose people. Like for me, I think I lose maybe 4 or 5 subscribers a week, but then I gain 60. So as long as you're doing this motion, as long as you're not going down, you're fine. Because like I said before in my presentation, I know you weren't here for it, but I'll go ahead and reiterate it. It may take a long time before a large amount of people see your show. So as long as you, even if you're sitting at 50 views the whole time for like a month or so, that's successful in my opinion because you've maintained your audience. It's all about maintaining your audience and not necessarily, it's important to gain more audience members, but it's especially important to maintain your audience.
And you definitely don't want to lose market.
Yeah. When you start losing people, when you start losing a lot of people, or when you start losing a lot of views, for me, when it came to The Voice, it cost me viewers, so I had to change it. There's a couple other characters who have they have really I just lost my train of thought. They've got voices that are just manipulated, like hardcore manipulated, to have echoes and reverb and things like that. And it was at that point I noticed that my views were dropping off. That people either didn't understand it, they didn't like it. So the next time I choose that character, it's going to have to be a more simplified voice than what I have now. But as I said before, change things, but don't change your overall idea. Don't replace your overall idea that you have for a show with something completely different, because you're going to alienate the people who you've already established. Even if it's just 10, I would rather have 10 people who like my show for what it is than me selling out to the crowd and doing stuff that I either don't like or would regret doing later just to be popular.
It's kind of like this dude I was talking about, Milby. He's a UK. He actually does a really great Zach Brandon voice from the show. But when he does live stream, he just says whatever's going on in his mind while he's playing the game.
Right.
And he has such a suave voice that you want to keep listening to. It's kind of like listening to Morgan Freeman, like narrate some horror movie, but you don't really pay attention to it. It's like,
well, I mean, my partner Matt Pat, he and I teach in very different ways. I'm a much more personal kind of person. I want to be on the level of my audience. I've been wrong on occasion, but I want to be wrong if that even makes sense, because that means people are thinking. When it came to my Pokemon episode, people went back and said, you forgot this, you forgot that. This is kind of wrong, this isn't right. And I'm like, this is win for the show, because it's accomplishing the goal of getting people to listen and understand and do their own research about the different cultural references.
And also maybe realizing that they're actually paying attention to me.
But my buddy Matt Pat, he's got this buttery, sexy voice and showmanship that I just you can't top it. And he speaks about scientific things, so he must be matter-of-fact and he must be confident in the way that he talks, whereas my character is more, hey, do you guys know about this? Let's talk about this for a minute. And he's like, this happens, and this is why, and this is the theory as to why this happens, and he's got this wonderful showmanship that he does, and it's his thing. So some people may just watch the show because of his showmanship. I don't know. But I've seen a lot of people saying, marry me. And they never see him, they just hear his voice, they're like, oh. So, anyhow. Let me see what time it is. Almost 11:30. So, does anyone have any last quick question?
Marry me.
She's already got that. So.
Yeah. We'll fight.
If there's no other question, or if you have individual questions for me later, if you have some for Aki, if you have some for Hutch, come talk to us. But thanks for coming out, guys.